What's good, everyone? Basketball mentor Tyler Matthews. I was a four-year varsity letterman in Southern California, broke school records for things like three-point percentage, steals, free throws, and I played college basketball. Since then, I've helped over 50 players raise their points per game, make varsity, and earn college offers. Today, I'm going to give you 3 mental game tactics that every basketball player needs, but nobody teaches. Mental tactics are so important because you have to be able to withstand the pressure of a game, and these tactics will help you do just that. So, first things first, 3 mental game tactics every basketball player needs. The first one we're going to go over is the power of single words and short phrases. Okay. Second thing we're going to go over is checklists. Third thing we're going to go over is buttons, right? Everything will make sense by the end of this video. So the first one is the power of single words and short phrases. All right. I use short phrases or single words to remind myself of what I'm focused on. So present example that I'm using right now is all in, right? I use this phrase to show that I can't succeed unless I'm all in on something with no plan B. When I was a basketball player, I had no other plan other than basketball. I was not trying to be a social media content creator. I was not trying to make money. I was all in on basketball and there was nothing else. And I wanted to master my craft and be all in on that. Another example that I used when I was a player was 1% better. I got this from my varsity coach when I was a senior. He always used to say it, right? Get 1% better today. And I would just say that over and over again because I wanted to remind myself that I don't need to achieve my goal in one day. You can get there through consistency and showing up every day. And you learn pretty quickly that it's about outlasting versus winning, right? If you can outlast the person next to you over a long enough time horizon, which for me was over a decade, then you will eventually win. All right. And the biggest thing is we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. That's why journaling for me became such a great habit because it reinforced what I knew what was working and will always work. So for example, my biggest thing was not only did I talk positively in my journal, which reflected on my thoughts throughout the day, right? I turned negative moments into positive moments. But the biggest thing is at the very base level of when you're trying to achieve a goal, it has nothing to do with the how. It has everything to do with just showing up every day, right? Even if you're trying to lose weight, it's not necessarily, you don't have to do the best exercises. You don't have to have the best meal prep. You just have to show up every day and work and sweat and move your body. Same thing with basketball. It's like if anything else failed, I knew that I had to just do the things that worked. For me, that was making my 200 shots that day. For me, it was watching 30 minutes of film and taking some notes. For me, it was watching not just my own film, but other people's film. For me, it was asking questions, right? Good questions to my coaches. It was definitely bulletproofing my body. So I was researching, buying programs, investing in development so that I can not only make myself more athletic, but also that I don't get injured because you can't do anything. You can't perform at all if you're injured, right? So at the very base level, those 3 words that I always kind of said to myself as well, and this is kind of another short phrase that I use, was just work, adapt, succeed. Right? If I work hard every day and I adapt when things are working and when things aren't working, right? And then I just keep going until I win. It's not that complicated. Next up is checklists. All right. Checklists were super important to me because you can't ever cheat a checklist. If you don't do everything on that checklist, then you only have yourself to blame. So an example of like a broad checklist that I used when I was a player was, okay, I had to get my 2 workouts in, right? Other than practice, right? My 1 athletic workout, my 1 skill workout. And of course I would include my practice, my team practice in there too. 3,000 calories. So I had to hit my calorie intake for the day. 150 grams of protein, had to hit my protein intake for the day. 8 hours of sleep so that my body's recovered and that I can continue performing at a high level in my workouts and games throughout the whole week, right? Because I always had a 6-day week and then rested on my 7th day. And then 30 minutes of film. Just this one was super easy for me because I would just watch, highlights in class or my own film in class during high school. So it was pretty easy to hit that. And then the biggest thing was I just used checklists to keep myself accountable, right? The only person you can cheat is yourself. And so you really want to use checklists broadly, right? Just like I showed you above, but you can even have specific checklists in your workouts or in your day. So for example, I have these pictures up here, but this was genuinely my schedule, right? On the left side, you can see my schedule and you can see what times I have to work out at. Sunday was my rest day. Monday through Saturday, I worked, right? I would always do 2 or 3 workouts a day. But notice how on the right side, I have a skill workout written down, and then I have a shooting workout written down. Think of those bullet points that I have, like footwork drill, pick and roll variations, perimeter moves variation, instinct drill. Like that's a checklist. So like I never time my workouts. It was always like, did I get everything done in that workout? Did I make all the things? Same thing with like a weightlifting or athletic workout. It was never timed. It was like, did I finish all the exercises on that checklist? So you can use checklists, not just broadly, but also more specific, like I have on the right side there. And if you want to see the third one, guys, if you love this video, I have a free Hooper community with over 500 members inside. So it's called Varsity Guard Blueprint, where we teach you how to become a varsity level guard using proven skill, athletic, and mental training. So if you want to join, just sign up using the link in the description, right? We would love to have you in there, and completely free. A lot of free game just like this. Moving on to buttons. This is one of my favorite ones, okay? And buttons is the term I use to basically reignite a fire inside yourself, myself, right? So example, I use the "they doubted you" button all the time when I was an 8th grader going into freshman year. These buttons helped me push through hard times, and it makes it easier to do hard things because it comes from a strong why, right? When I was in 8th grade going into 9th grade, not a lot of people thought I was good enough to make varsity as a freshman, right? They thought I was, I'd make freshman team or JV team, but I really wanted to prove to them that they were wrong, right? And so like when I was lifting weight, I vividly remember like on the last set, or like when I was really tired and I didn't want to work out that day, or I had to wake up at 5 a.m. for a shooting workout and I didn't want to wake up, I would just like to just press that button, right? Like they doubted you, they doubted you, they doubted you. And it really helps you, go harder, right? And so I want you guys to think of 5 painful events that happened from playing the game of basketball. Okay. When were you embarrassed? When did you play bad? When were you seen as the worst player versus the best player? Another key story that happened to me, I remember I was like in 7th grade. I played like this really good AAU team, like future, Division I players and NBA players were on this team. And I played terrible, right? Had turnovers, didn't play to the performance that I thought was my standard. And I remember it fueled me for so long, and it was really embarrassing. And I told my trainer about it, and he was just like, Tyler, no one's going to remember that game in a week, right? Let alone they probably forgot it the day after, right? So why are you banging yourself up about it? And so he was right. I shouldn't dread on the past, but at the same time, I think I still use that event though to fuel the fire of like, okay, I got to go harder. I got to be better. I got to get stronger, faster. I got to improve my shot, improve my ball handling so I don't commit those turnovers again, right? So you have to use these painful events to, fuel your fire. And so using these 5 events, I want you to create a short phrase that reminds you of that singular event that caused you pain, right? So for example, I said, they doubted you, right? That short phrase reminds me of the event I'm thinking about. Okay. And I want you to use a phrase like that. It could be short. I just want it to be short so that you can remember it, but it has to be specific enough that it makes sense to you. It doesn't have to make sense to everyone else, right? And so now you have 5 buttons to push whenever you need them. And this will come in handy, I promise you, because it can help you get into that mode again. Everyone has felt that flow state of when I'm performing at my best, I'm not thinking, and you are a little bit angry, right? You're not like boiling angry or super, super violent. You're just more a cool angry that you have almost infinite energy to pull from. And that's what I'm trying to go for here. And so a summary, guys, is you learned how to use short phrases or single words to remind yourself of certain things. You created a checklist of stuff you need to get done in order to be the player you want to become. And you created 5 buttons that you can push at any time. Okay. But those things, 3 mental tactics that you genuinely, if you put all of these tactics into your training program now, you'll be so much better. Okay. And if you love this video, leave a comment below on what you want to learn about next from me. And if you want to join my free Hooper community, it has an 8-week Varsity Guard Blueprint inside, plus over 500 members that are going through the same thing you're going through. So make sure to click the link in the description for that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.